Hi everyone, I'm Valerie Anderson. I'm a yoga teacher and a movement coach. Today's practice is going to be about 25-30 minutes, and we're going to do about half of it standing and then the other half of it on the hands and knees, or tabletop as it's called, and also in high lunge, low lunge, so one knee down. So if you want to add any cushion to your practice, then go ahead and pause. Get a pillow, get a blanket, get something that might add additional comfort to either palms or knees while they're down on the mat. Okay, we're gonna get started. And we're gonna get started in standing. So find a stable base for the feet, the legs, so that you can stack everything else on top of that. And for me, that feels a little bit wider than my hips distance, but for you, it might feel a little bit more narrow than your hips distance, or right underneath your hips. And then you kind of get to play around with, do I want my feet to be pointing straight forward? Maybe my toes get to point out a little bit, but it might take a moment to sort of wiggle into that shape. And then once you find that stable ground, you're gonna sense if your pelvis is pushed a little forward and the weight is into your toes a bit more, or if your weight is shifted back and you feel a lot of weight into your heels. You want to come right in between that, where you feel a little bit more weight into the heels, but you can also sense some pressure downward on your toes and the tops of your foot. Once you feel that nice stacking of the hips over the soft knees and ankles, then you're going to feel the shoulders rest on top of that, the ribs, and then the head. And enjoy a moment or two here of just some simple breathing. You have the option of paying attention for curiosity's sake and noting how your breath is at the beginning of your practice. If you enjoy shifting your breath in one way or another, maybe length, depth, you're of course welcome to play around with your inhales and exhales. But either way, we're paying attention to how the rib cage, the chest, the torso is feeling as it takes in the breath and expands, and as the ribs and the lungs let go of the breath and come down. Perhaps you have a sense of awareness for your diaphragm as it rises and falls, the air rushing through your nose, or any space in between. If your eyes are closed or if they're open, let your inner eye wander around inside of you for a moment. Half the journey of yoga can be about moving and shape-shifting, but another integral part, the deeper part, is to explore inward, to have a self-study of what's going on inside. Where does comfort lie? Where does stress lie? Maybe you drop in a why or a how question to yourself. And take a few more casual or controlled breaths on your own for a moment. If your eyes happen to be open, you can take some slow blinks. And start to get a little rock into the heels, shifting forward and back towards the toes and then back to the heels. See if you can find your big toe all the way down to your pinky toe and then the inner outer edge of your heels. And either stay with this nice little rock forward and back or increase your shifting forward. Lifting the heels to any degree and lifting the toes as high as you are interested in. If you're lifting up on the heels quite a bit, see if you can keep the heels directly over the spot that they lifted from, rather than letting the ankles splay out to the sides. It's a tough one. If you've had little ankle injuries like me. And then you can plant the feet back down, take a little supple bend into the knees, and then let them shift a little side to side, or take little circles round, maybe through hips as well. And then come to stand and still. You're going to bring your hands into a prayer-like pose at your chest, and you're going to take a light pressing in towards one another. So you don't have to be crushing anything between your palms. It's just enough so that you can feel a little activation in the back body. Perhaps it's kind of like the shoulder blades are sliding down the back, or that you feel some muscles beneath the shoulder blades wrapping around underneath the armpits. That's kind of the area we're going for, with a pulling down of the shoulders, a light engagement towards the floor. And then once you get there, pressing the palms, the fingertips in towards each other, then take rocks with the head side to side, or the ear comes to one shoulder and the other. You're going to nod the head forward and back, and you're going to lead with the chin. So imagine that the chin is coming down towards the chest, a little tuck, and then it's lifting up towards the sky. So it's less of a generous bend in the neck and more about, where's my chin pointing? And if you kind of lost track of how your press is going, you can either press back in or press lighter, and then take little gentle rolls with the neck in one direction, circling round. When it feels like a good spot, you'll go the other way. And then any other movement that feels nice for your neck, you can either drop that palm press or stay with it. I'm going to look shoulder left and right towards chin to neck, or chin to shoulder. And then come back to center, shake it out, let it go. And then we're going to take some shoulder cars. So our job is to try to keep our shoulders still, our chest, our whole rib cage still, our hips, all of it. And we're just moving the arm down to the fingers. So left hand can kind of lie loosely at your side, and we're going to work with the right hand first. So it's going to come to your side, palm faces forward. And again, without moving at all as possibly as we can through the torso, stillness. You're going to let the arm go across your body long towards the left. And then you're going to start to circle it upward. Palm is facing back behind you, but you're slowly going to let it rotate so that the palm faces forward like you're giving a high five. And then as your arm starts to finish your circle, your palm is going to start to face down towards the floor until it rotates, palm faces back behind you. And you can either reach the fingertips straight back, or you can come across the body and reach your hand towards that left hip behind you. And then we're going to circle around the same way. So arm stretches to your side, and the shoulder's going to rotate so that the palm faces down. Shoulder keeps rotating as you circle around so that you're high-fiving. And then you're going to keep that rotation in your shoulders so that your palm eventually turns back to face you. You come down and around. And we're going to take that circle one more time. So long arm straight across the body, palm is facing you. Slowly turn the shoulder, just the arm in its socket so that your palm faces forward, high five. You're completing your circle, your palm faces down to the ground, and then choice. Do I want to bring my palm back behind me like I'm reaching for that opposite hip? Or do I want to extend the arm straight behind me so I'm pointing to the wall or the space behind me? And then come back to your circling. Palm faces down, shoulders rotating externally, high five. Nothing in the torso is moving. We're circling around, palm faces down, rotating so that our palm faces us. And then let go, shake it out, second side. Right arm is still, left arm is down. And our palm is facing back behind us. We're going to cross the body towards our right. Nothing in the torso is moving. We're going to slowly let the shoulder rotate in its socket inward so that high five happens. We're going to keep the rotation going. Palm faces down in a T. Palm faces behind you. Reach across or straight back. And then reverse. So the palm starts to come up to a T and the palm's facing down towards the floor. Reach straight up. High five. External rotation of the shoulders. We come around. Palm faces you back to your side. One more round. Long arm goes across. Circles around. We go inward rotation to high five. Palm to a T facing towards the floor. Internal rotation to hide our hand behind us. Coming back around the circle. Palm faces towards the floor. External rotation to the high five. External rotation to come across to the body. Oh, and then let that go. If you found it tricky, you're moving spots in your torso, then the next time you play with that, just try to be still. You can also try to bring your back to a wall or touch and press into the areas that are trying to move. All right, so we're going to take the arms across our body like we're giving ourselves a little gentle hug, and hands come to the upper arm bones. And now we get to move the torso. So you're going to take a side bend towards your left. And then you're going to take a little forward fold with that side bend. And then you're going to come to center with your forward fold. Then you're going to side bend to the right. You're going to come up from your forward fold bend. You're still in your side bend. And then you're going to take a little shift backward. So baby little back bend. Center back bend. Keep that chin tucked. Left back bend towards our left side, and then we come around. So you're basically just taking a circle in one direction, trying to articulate the most as you can through flexing and extending the spine forward and back from tailbone to top of head. We're also getting some lateral bending in, so you're getting a little stretch for your side body. You're also trying to stay still through the legs and through the arms so that most of the movement is coming through the torso and just the spine instead of your right and left pelvis. Okay, you're going to go around the other direction. So whenever it feels really nice to pause, maybe when you're upright, then you'll go around the other way at least 2 times. So take your side bend, forward fold, center, side bend, back bend into your spine, and then come around again. You can kind of play around with what part is bending more than the other, which spot of your side bend is longer. I kind of like aiming for my rib cage when I side bend. Oh, when you come around that last time, you're going to come upright, you're going to shake it off. And then a little balancing here. So if you want a wall, if you want a chair, if you want to just work with challenging yourself, then try not to hold on to anything. And then you're going to take all your weight into your right foot and get a little kickstand on your left foot. Sometimes I find holding onto an imaginary pole works really too. And you're going to take your knee, bend, heel towards bottom. And you're going to give a good squeeze there, good active squeeze there. And if you found that your hips shifted forward and you got a good low back bend, tuck the tailbone because we're working the hip. So we're trying to keep our hips neutral and centered, and just the heel works up towards the bum. And then you can lower down. Then you're going to take one more lift, heel towards bum. Even I just kind of untucked my hips a little bit, so I'm going to tuck my tailbone again. Try to make this all about the hip. And then you're going to find your way into a high lunge, however you want to step it back, and adjust accordingly so that you feel like you're in a good high lunge. You're going to take that same little tailbone tuck and that stack of the shoulders over. And then we're going to take a couple of dips. And you might find with that tailbone tuck that when you start to dip down, that as you bend into your knees, it's a little bit more challenging to go a little bit deeper. If the tailbone tuck is not working for you, then you can just take a couple of dips at whatever alignment feels nice for you. Hopefully you're feeling a little front body, hip and thigh stretch here. And then you're going to drop down to the knee. And then this is where it gets a little bit fun. So that left foot is going to kickstand to the right side of that outer edge of your mat, the long edge. And then you end up kind of facing away from that bent forward knee. You're going to take your free right hand and either the back or the front can press into that inner thigh or knee. You're going to press back against it. Then you're going to take a big lift with that left arm. And option to just simply reach straight up towards the sky, trying to lengthen as much to the left and the right side of the body. Pressing down those back toes into the mat. Or you might give a little arch over off to your right side towards that front bent knee. And that same little long left and right side body bend and then fold and extension. You can go for that as well. And then you'll come back to your center, you'll let it go. You'll take your leg that's swiveled around, bring it back towards center. And then option here to come to a standing balance of choice. So if it's simply to press upward and find a lift in the leg, or wiggle to add some extra challenge, or if you want to go for a standing split. Whatever you're up to, keep some suppleness in that standing leg. It's going to allow your muscles to work a bit more rather than having the joint support the whole activity. You can always find a moment to internal or externally rotate the hip, bring it around. Even if you're simply tapping toe, giving yourself a challenge of sorts, but then bringing yourself back to stability, you're still challenging yourself. So wherever you're on the mat today, that's where you are. All right, shake it up, let it go. Second side. So heel to bum, so left foot's gonna dig in. You're gonna find that centering head, ribs, hips. Come to the toes, a little suppleness in that left leg. And then imaginary pole or wall or chair, whatever you're up to. Keeping that tailbone tucked, so it's all about that thigh extending behind you, and then heel to bum. Give it a good squeeze. And then you can let it go for a moment. Coming into our second round, pull the knee up. And step back into a high lunge. however you get there. And once you're into that stable high lunge base, then we're going to take that little tuck of the tailbone, and then once you get a little stretch for that front side of that back leg, so your right leg, then you can take your little dips down towards the mat. It's good flexion for the ankles too. Remember that ankle kind of bowing in and out when we're going up and down on our heels at the beginning? See if you can find that same centering. The ankle is going to stay nice and aligned with the calf, with the heel. Oh, good stretch. And then eventually come down to your knee, however you get there. And again, we take that little kickstandy action where that right back foot is going to sweep to the left alongside of your mat. And then you're going to turn to face the wall. Just kidding, I'm going to face you. All right. Once you're here, left hand pushes into the inner thigh, finds some stability through the legs. And then when you're ready, you'll reach up with that right arm. Fingers straight up towards the ceiling, long through the ribs. And then option to get that back into a little side twist as we lean to our left and then either shift forward or back with a little flex and extend of the spine. We'll come back up to center. We'll bring our arm down and around. We'll let that go. You can take that back foot, kick it back to center. I'm gonna walk around so I'm same side. And then from your low lunge, press up. And either find the same kind of balance for the side, which is always nice. You will feel balanced left to right. Or find a little something different. So shift into that supple standing bent knee. Either find some stillness, toe taps, or wiggle that leg around to really challenge yourself. You could be going for that standing split action. I tell you what, this balancing stuff never gets old for me. See if you can get an internal, external rotation on. Basically just play until you're ready to come upright. And then let it go. All right, from the top of our mats, root down to the feet, start to find a strong mountain pose. Your choice to follow one breath, one movement, or to just breathe as you reach the arms up. Forward, fold it down. Halfway lift. Plant the palms, step it back to knees or plank. And then from here, yogi's choice. Do you want to shift forward onto the belly, take a little back bend? Do you want to shift back into child's? Do you want to lay on your belly for a few extra moments? But either way, whatever you're up to, we're eventually going to take a couple of rounds of breath, either in a down dog or knees down, down dog. So upper arms are down dog like, but you're on your knees. Another option is to bring the forearms down, head to mat, something like a child's and tabletop, or even better, just a child's pose. But find your way there. Find your breath. We're working our way down to our last moments of our practice, so start to consider if there's something that was left out that you might need. You're welcome to stay in the position that you're in or come to a table and give yourself a moment of wiggles here or there. But at one point or another, We're going to come onto the belly. And we're going to play around with a couple of lifts of arms and legs. So options here, just legs. Lifting one at a time, lifting together, kicking like you're swimming. Forehead can remain down or chin down. Maybe you're just playing with arms. They're straight overhead, you're lifting one at a time. They're cactus-like. T. Just play. Play with the back body, extending it behind us. Lift one appendage, 2, 3, all of them. If you're settled and happy with your movements, you can find some stillness, resting a cheek or a forehead down. You can always keep moving, shifting, playing. We're eventually going to roll onto our backside and start to find our final moments of practice. And display your arms, your legs, your bones, your body, your tissue. Out in a state that feels the most accessible for comfort, the most accessible for softness, the most accessible for you in this moment, in this day. Back to the breath. And once again, be curious about its state, its nature. Perhaps it's settled into a rhythm, or it feels more smooth and natural. Eyes closed, resting fully and completely on our backside. I invite you to take your inner eye, taking a peek towards what's going on inside. Not just the outer shell, the skin, the muscles, the bones, but notice if some of the frazzle has been soothed or what frazzle is left. Accept it and know that this isn't the experience about coming out, sunshine, rainbows, all that, every time. Sometimes it's the work of just moving and wiggling so that you can pay attention to your thoughts a little bit more fully after you expend some energy. Sometimes those thoughts are soft and kind, and sometimes we gotta sort through some business. Either way, it's self-exploration, and that's the point. That's the nectar of this practice. Stay as long as you can and are willed to rest and be introspective. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today.